Nerds and geeks can be the biggest bullies and most exclusive. The finest unpopular opinions people would never admit in real life. I prefer to leave banana peels in my car instead of air fresheners. I'm not sure if this is unpopular or not, but I love leaving banana peels in my car. I live in South Florida, so the heat warms it up and I get hit with that sweet banana smell whenever I get in. I usually only leave it in there for like a day or two, because if I leave it in too long it gets brown and crispy, and by then I usually have another peel to replace it anyway. 10/10 would recommend. Other fruits like orange peels are great too, but bananas are usually my go-to. Normal air fresheners can smell nice, but usually have too much of a chemical smell. People who hate tomatoes have never had a good tomato. You hear the sentiment all the time about how tomatoes are flavorless, gooey, seedy messes. At one time in my life, I agreed. However, at least in America, that sentiment seems to be so widespread because we have just the worst tomatoes around. Ever travel overseas? Head to a farmer's market over there and have your mind blown. I swear, compared to American grocery store tomatoes, the tomatoes I've had in the Middle East taste like straight-up pasta sauce, even without any seasoning. The texture is much crisper. I could eat them like an apple. I've never had a home-grown tomato in the US, but I hear that they provide a similar experience. FYI, the same applies to cucumbers, artichokes, melon, squash, etc. The moral of the story is that the US has really awful produce. Brocode goes out the window if you cheat on your girlfriend. Now, I'm all for supporting friends. Brocode and girl code is the same when it comes to exes. You don't date your best friend's exes. However, if you cheat on your partner, that rule goes out the window. I mean, it's not like you wanted them if you cheated on them. Now if they break up because their partner broke up with them, or it was mutual breakup, then of course it is off limits. My friend cheated on his girlfriend and she is really pretty, but I never looked at her in that way while they were together. He asked me if I would ever try to get with his ex, and I said if the opportunity ever presented itself, and he got upset about it. Which was actually really nice to see because it showed he still cares for her. It is infinitely better to go to a movie by yourself than with people. I was recently in a town for work and had several hours to kill before I had to be at work. I found out that the local theater had $5 movies on that day, so I decided to go. I was a little nervous about going up to the ticket booth and asking for one ticket, but it was the best movie theater experience I've ever had. I chose the snacks, got them to myself, and didn't have someone whispering questions to me the whole time. It was honestly incredibly relaxing, and I don't know if I can go back to my old ways of going to movies with friends or family. It is more difficult to pretend you are working than it is to actually work. I am currently an intern with a multinational corporation in the safety department. My task for my internship is to audit risk assessments for the company's main production facility. This can be challenging at times, but it's rather easy and I get it done pretty quickly. Often it seems as though I get it done too quickly. My mentors and bosses are all significantly older than I am, so in their minds, because it takes them so much longer to do it, it should take me the same amount of time. My work is good and complete as my audits have already been audited and passed with flying colors, but it seems to really set them off when I get it done so fast. Lately I've been pretending to work so they think these risk assessments are taking longer than they do, but man is it difficult. I'm paid hourly, so I don't want to just go home because I'm a diligent worker and get my stuff done fast. Pretending makes time drag on so much longer, and the act of trying to make myself look busy is extremely tiresome. It's so much easier to just have work to do. Pretty much all birth control for women is horrific. Your partner doesn't want to wear protection, so the next best thing is to take a pill that pumps you full of hormones, forcing your period to stop and causing potentially deadly side effects, such as raising your blood pressure, chance of blood clots, and depressing you. Stick a rod in your arm that releases the same hormones as the pill, except you cannot stop and start whenever you please if it isn't working for you. This is a pain in the ass to get out, booking an appointment, having to justify it beyond suffering from the side effects that you'll get used to, and has a chance of becoming infected. Having a small piece of metal inserted into one of your internal organs. There are countless horror stories about perforation of the uterine wall potentially resulting in sepsis, bleeding for days on end that's considered normal, and another fight with your doctor to get it out even if it's causing trouble. And all of these aren't even proven to be fully effective. ARDS copper coils are probably the most painful to get in and out since they don't offer you an anesthetic of any kind, for pain that's been compared to labor, and are definitely not as effective and convenient as they're made out to be. The pill is probably the most convenient, and I understand the health benefits that come with hormonal contraception, especially for people like myself with terrible periods and endometriosis, etc. For some it's necessary medication, and all medication comes with its side effects, some of which are worth it to avoid the suffering that come with their illness, but I cannot see how they're worth it purely for the intimacy. Somebody replied, I have heavy, painful periods and I'm anemic. So heavy, I lost my ARD. So we tried birth control pills. Even on lowest dose, they made me depressed and have wild mood swings. It was during lockdown and I didn't realize the connection until I didn't fill my prescription for a few days. I was finally approved for an endometrial ablation, just had it yesterday. Hoping for more normal periods but won't know for a couple of cycles. The USA is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. From a geographical standpoint, the USA is unambiguously one of the most beautiful countries in the world. You have access to the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, Badlands in South Dakota, Everglades in Florida, Mojave Desert in Arizona, Great Lakes in Michigan, California, Alaska, Hawaii, all without a passport. You have access to the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. Even states like Ohio and Kentucky have so much underrated beauty. Driving through the Great Plains in Nebraska is one of my greatest experiences. There's the Great Smokies, Grand Canyon, Yosemite, Death Valley, Niagara Falls, Bayou. Culturally it's dynamic from New York City to Hollywood to Nashville and Miami. You have so many different cultures and accents. Even in places like Indiana there's still a unique culture. We had so many cultural movements started here. From the hippies in the 60s to the flappers of the 1920s. Motown, Seattle grunge, rock and roll, jazz, blues, country, house. Multiple inventions. I think I live in a great country with many freedoms that people would kill for. And people have killed for. There's issues but every country has their issues. No country in history has had an innocent past. Doesn't mean I won't celebrate where we are now. Maybe because I grew up with post-2001 patriotism. But I'm proud to be an American. I wouldn't pick to live in a different country. We have the highest GDP and a Human Development Index above 0.920. Everyone should be grateful for that. And I'm a gay man. We used to be discriminated against in this country. But I'm still proud to live here. I'm proud that I have the freedom to love another man. I'm grateful and I think it's silly to not be even a little proud of where you come from. It is better to wake up early than to go to bed late. Okay, so I would more consider myself an early bird than a night owl, so I might be a bit biased with this, just to be clear. But, I would like to explain why waking up early is superior. 1. No one else is awake, you could get away with anything you want. This is even better when the people around you are deep sleepers. 2. You get to go outside when it's cooler, this is good, particularly in the summer. 3. If you have somewhere to be, you have plenty of time to get ready and plenty of time to relax before you go. 4. You have much more time in the day. 5. You aren't sluggish like you are when you wake up, unless you go to sleep late. 6. You experience more of the day. 7. You can get a lot done before most people are even awake. Nerds and geeks are bigger bullies and assholes than any jock or other social group that is stigmatized. Obviously this doesn't apply to all members of any group. But the stigma has always been that nerds are typically victims of bullies and exclusion. In my experience, however, nerds and geeks can be the biggest bullies and most exclusive. The condescension and hubris of a nerd with some sort of status within that group far outweighs that of any jock group I've ever encountered. I would honestly be less self-conscious joining a gym than I would be joining a D&D group or a group of comic book fans or a group of techis. And I think it's worth repeating that I don't find any group to be inherently mean or exclusive. Most people in general are friendly enough. but I just think that when it comes to bullies and assholes, nerds actually have the worst of them. 99% of the flaming hot stuff is bad, and it's stupid to sacrifice flavor for more spice. Now, don't get me wrong, I think spicy food is great. I put hot sauce on my eggs, extra cayenne and jalapeno brine in my chili. I put jalapenos in pretty much any dish they're appropriate, get the spicy wings and red pepper flakes at pizza places, and consume probably an inordinate amount of spicy ramen. I'm no wuss. I even admittedly like the flaming hot Lay's potato chips, but that's cause they still have the potato chip flavor to them. However, I think flaming hot Cheetos are gross. I don't understand how they came to be this big thing that everyone brags about liking, to the point where there was literal merch for hot Cheetos. It became a meme, became part of the pejorative hot Cheeto girl stereotype, and now, everything is flaming hot. Smart food popcorn, Funyuns, though that one's a bit older, I still find it vile, even Mountain Dew for Christ's sake. Who is the demographic for these things? I just don't get the hype. This goes for a lot of other things too, but to me, there's just no flavor to them. Or take a cider. They're just spicy. They taste like spicy, and I don't know what the deal with that is. Spice is great, but it should elevate the other flavors in food, not cover them up. Do these people just want spice? I just don't understand. If I stop texting you, it's not ghosting. This has happened to me a couple of times where I meet a girl, go out with them once or twice, and then I stop texting them to hang out. I never hear from her either and go about my life as normal. Then I'll run into her a couple of months later and get accused of ghosting her. If I stop texting someone and they never reach back out to me, I don't believe that's ghosting. But I guess since the guy normally takes the initiative to plan dates, it's ghosting if he stops? No. For the record, if I was asked to hang out again, I would definitely tell them I'm no longer interested, because actually getting ghosted sucks and I would hate to do that to someone. But just texting someone out of the blue and saying I don't want to see you again seems unnecessarily cruel to me. Somebody replied, as a guy, if I have to be the one texting first every time, they are obviously not interested in me enough to put effort into maintaining contact. For example, I was spending a lot of time with this girl, like at each other's house every few days, and I got really sick, was down hard, my daughter was taking care of me, and I probably should have been hospitalized. Not once did she text me, and when I was well enough, I texted her, and she accused me of disappearing. So now, after a week of texting with someone new, I will not start texting in the morning, and see if she cares enough to text me first. If she doesn't, there wasn't enough interest on her side, and I let it go. Revenge is not always a bad thing. People like to say that revenge just leaves you feeling empty in the end. There are a million truisms about how holding a grudge is basically like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, about how forgiveness is always the way, and so on and so forth. But I think that sometimes revenge is necessary if someone has been truly wronged and law enforcement won't take care of the person who screwed them over. There are all sorts of people who get away with everything: narcs, manipulators, domestic abusers, abusive parents who are good at covering their tracks, people like that. In cases like that where the other person gets away with everything, I think that well thought out revenge is actually the only appropriate option. Not even talking about murder. I'm talking about some kind of measures being made to exact justice on a person who ruined your life or ruined your mental health. Something to call mass attention to what the other person did so people know to stay away from them. Whatever those measures would be, I don't know, but in a case like that where it's clear that law enforcement isn't going to do anything about the other person, I think that if anything, revenge is not only okay but necessary to prevent the other person from hurting anybody else. Plus, it gives the victim of the crime peace of mind in the end, knowing that even though something horrible happened to them, the other person has to pay the price for what they did and isn't just walking away free. Thanks for watching right through to the end. I hope you enjoyed all these opinions. Let me know what you thought of them down in the comments and subscribe for more daily content.